All right, what's good, party people? Thank you for popping in on another episode of Pop Talk. This is your man, Professor Nims. I'm signing on for Boston Jared.
What up?
And Coach Dave.
Hurt.
Casual Rand could not join us tonight, but we make up the pundits of pugilism. And we thank y'all for rocking with us for another pop episode. We want to make sure that you like and subscribe before we get into this content for this weekend. But we want to first start off with talking about a couple of up-and-coming prospects who are fighting this weekend. And one is Xander Zayas, the Puerto Rican, who is actually has a pretty big step up in competition. And then we're also going to focus on Shu Shu Carrington. But let's first start off with Xander Zayas, who is fighting the Brazilian Patrick Teixeira.
Former WBO champ.
Yeah, 34-4, and he's got some pretty good names on his resume. And he is known as the only person who has actually defeated Carlos Adames and whatnot, and it was a unanimous decision. He actually dropped Adames in the 7th round. So this represents a pretty significant step up for Xander Zayas. So I think that this will kind of give us an opportunity to see where he stands at when it comes to the 154-pound weight division, which at a time, this was seen as kind of a murderer's row of contenders. But I think that that it's starting to kind of filter out a little bit. But we know that we got that man. We got that man, Terrence Crawford, who is looking for the undisputed supremacy at that weight division. So, like, I know Xander Zayas handlers are going to keep him away as long as they can. But Coach Dave, give us your impressions about Xander Zayas and give us a little bit of insight of how you think this fight this weekend is going to play out.
Well, but y'all already know, man. For the longest time, I've been loving Xander, man. I've been loving Xander, despite the lack of amateur pedigree or whatever, just the discipline, the techniques, the form that he has, and I think this is an excellent fight for Xander. Not only excellent, but to be clear, it could be dangerous for him as well. Now, I think he should, if he boxes, uses just as much reach that he has as Teixeira has, I think he could really leak up Teixeira. Now, Teixeira hits hard, man, but he's kind of a flat-footed fighter. And if you watch that fight with Carlos Adames, a shorter fighter than Xander Zayas, once they was on the inside, he got touched up. Even though Adames may have got dropped, he had Teixeira leaking and swollen. And Teixeira was very vulnerable on the inside fighting. I didn't like his inside fighting. I like when he had that cagey, rangy distance. I think he's deadlier there. But because Xander Zayas got a nice inside game. So, I mean, Xander gonna have to be smart, and they're both gonna have to fight. And even beyond fighting, he's gonna have to be smart. Hands down. This cat, former champion, man. This guy ain't nothing to sleep on. How I think it's gonna play out, I'm hoping that his corner, Xander Zayas, is telling him to press with the jab, be cautious but aggressive. A cautious aggressiveness. And I'm telling you, Adames was touching this guy when he was pressing, and in the later rounds, when he got tired, I just didn't see a whole lot of threats that he could give to Xander if them boys sit there fighting on the inside, because Xander can bang. So I'm hoping that Xander learns how to cautiously keep that distance while aggressively still pressing, hoping that it goes in the later rounds and that Xander touched this guy up so much that I wish they stopped the fight. I wish they would stop the fight, man. But this cat's only been knocked out once, so I mean, he's a tough fighter, man. But he was just
He got knocked out at 160. I think it was Curtis Stevens who knocked him out. Curtis Stevens can crack, especially back then when he fought him. I mean, that was a fight at 160 pounds. I think that fight was on HBO, I think.
I can't
I'm
remember.
almost certain it was Curtis Stevens.
No, it was definitely Curtis Stevens. And at the time, he was an undefeated fighter. He was kind of tearing through the competition. I believe he was 25-0 at the time.
Yeah.
And that
was a vacant
that's
shot.
kind of one of my biggest issues, is that it seems that anytime he's had any kind of significant step up in competition, except for the Adames fight, that he hasn't fared well, whether it's been Brian Castano or Curtis Steven. But go ahead, Boston, kind of give us your views on this matchup and how you think that both fighters will fare.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I know Dave has been real big on Zayas. I think you and me, Cam, have been really, really kind of lukewarm on this kid. There really isn't a lot that really blows me away about this kid. That being said, I really don't know how this fight's going to play out. I suspect, based on what I've seen, this fight goes the distance. This is a 10-round fight, too, if I'm not mistaken. So not a 12-round fight. And again, TEXIERA has been in there with guys who I think are better than this kid is right now. Guys like Castano, guys like Adames. But again, he's getting a little long in the tooth for the sport. I think TEXIERA is what? Is he 34?
33
now. He's been knocked out already, albeit, at a higher weight than he's accustomed to fighting. Yeah, I'm very, very curious to see. My personal opinion, whenever I hear guys come and talk to me, whether it's Abdullah Mason or whether it's Xander Zayas or whoever, Shu Shu Carrington, my position normally is, hey, wake me up when they fight somebody of note, and I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be wide awake. I'm gonna be wide awake this weekend. Definitely going to be tuned in because I really, really want to see how this kid does, and what to me is a significant step up from Edison Saltarin, Carlos Rivero, Adrian Perez. Oh no, sorry. Those are Mark Patrick TEXIERA's last few fights. Yeah. Jorge Fortea, Roberto Valenzuela, Ronald Cruz, who we went the distance with, Alexi Salazar Flores, who we also went to full 8 with. TEXIERA, without having seen much of those guys I just named, we're willing to bet that TEXIERA is significantly better than those guys. So, to me, I think this is a 12-round fight, and I think Zayas underwhelms in a fight that goes the distance.
Yes, I'm gonna disagree again on that one too, man. Because part of the whole thing, man, that you can't call somebody up and coming, and they might not have that resume or stuff up under their belt as a seasoned fighter. That's the whole point of calling them up and coming. But what you got to take a look at is, when I look at Shu Shu Carrington and when I look at Xander Zayas, I'm telling you, I'm looking at the fight technique and the things that they are doing at the level that they are at. And if they are doing those things at the level they're at a higher grade, at a higher level than what to be expected, if this guy is in a tight defense, if this guy is not just looking for one shot, but turning it hook behind it, brick hand, if he is doing those fundamental sweet science things and doing them well, man, he's not crossing his feet in the ring. He's just a solid, sound, fundamental fighter. I say that's how we determine, good and up and coming fighters, man. And I agree with you, about it being a hard step up. But if it go into later rounds and TEXIERA looked like he looked against Adame, Xander gonna leap this joker up, man.
Well, let me ask you this: how do you think Xander Zayas compares to a guy skill-wise, compares to a guy like David Morrell or Abdullah Mason or Floyd Schofield or Shu Shu Carrington? Like where does he fit?
So I would honestly put I would put Abdullah Mason above in terms of skill wise. In terms of your question, I would put Abdullah Mason above Shu Shu Carrington and Xander right now.
Wow.
Bro, that boy is sharp. That boy is crisp. That boy understands range. Abdullah Mason is he nasty with it, bro. He is nasty with it. I can't remember the fight that Xander Zayas was in, but he showed a little bit of immaturity because he got up in there and slugged and was swinging wild and got caught a couple of times. So I'm not as happy on this guy's defense. I feel okay with it against TEXIERA because TEXIERA is so flat-footed, and Xander's kind of long and rangy too. But I would put Xander Zayas and Shu Shu below Abdullah Mason right now. If I had to rank those three, I would go Abdullah, Xander, and then maybe Shu Shu in terms of skill. In terms of heart and meanness, be honest with you, I would probably go Abdullah, Shu Shu, and Xander. Because Shu Shu and Abdullah is just some mean jokers, bro. They
But you have Schofield and David Morrell ahead of those three guys, though.
Well, you just entered in some new, right? So
No. I said Schofield and Morrell. I thought I did. I thought I said Schofield, Morrell, Carrington, Mason.
Okay.
At any rate, okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious, just for reference.
I like Abdullah Mason in terms of skill set, bro. That dude he's special with it.
Well, let's turn our attention to who I don't know. I'm a little bit biased, but I really like what I see in Bruce Shu Shu Carrington at this time. So he's a up and coming featherweight. He's 11-70. He's also going to be fighting at Madison Square Garden, and I don't know, for me, he's got that kind of, he does have that, right? So, Coach was earlier, he was kind of telling me the three necessary components that you need to kind of mold a championship boxer. And one is you got to have that supreme conditioning. You got to have the understanding of the sweet science, and then you have to have the philosophy, like a good, strong philosophy. And for me, I've been able to see all of those things, and also he doesn't he doesn't remind me of a young Floyd Mayweather. But one of the things that I take is that when I used to watch Floyd when he was young, it was that he looked really so comfortable and composed in the ring at the time, and then that's what I see with Shu Shu. Even though I did realize Shu Shu's a little bit older than I thought. He's actually 20. I think 27 years old. So when you think about it, he's got that kind of baby face, doesn't really have any facial hair at all. So he kind of gives you the impression that he's around 22, 23 years old. And you think about Xander Zayas, even though I have been critical of him and Boston Jarrett, the guy's only 21 years old. So he's got a lot of room to grow in. And he has a nice frame to kind of put on some weight. But for me, I really like what I see out of Shu Shu Carrington. And I think that we are looking at a future featherweight champion. I think that he's had some kind of well-stated, traumatic experiences. I believe he lost his brother who he kind of recognizes every time he fights. He's a Brooklyn native from Brooklyn, New York, and
from Brownsville.
Yeah, Brownsville.
Where they all come from. We're all the top best fighters.
Yeah, all those. So for me, when I see him fight, I think that we're looking at a future champion, and then so he's taking on Brian D. Gracia this weekend. I'm gonna go ahead. So he's the Panamanian. He's only been stopped one time. He has 3 losses, but he's only been stopped one time. But I think that we're gonna see Shu Shu Carrington take advantage of this opportunity. He's gonna go for the stop, and I think that we're gonna see another star-making performance. So we'll go back to Boston. Just kind of give us your thoughts on Shu Shu Carrington and how you think he'll fare this weekend.
Look, I have not seen anything of this guy, Brian DeGracia. I'm looking through his box set right now. Shu Shu is a guy that has impressed me with, his outings so far. But he's another guy where it's been like, wake me up when he fights somebody. I don't know if Brian DeGracia is that guy. He is 29-3. Looking through the guy's box rec right now
Yeah, he's got 25 KOs in his 29 wins, so he packs some power, and he comes to win in his last. But he's coming off of a loss. It was a unanimous decision that was pretty close. Against Edward Vasquez, but in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, his last 5 fights before that, he stopped all of his opponents, which can be a product of matchmaking.
Yeah, this guy looks like he's fought almost exclusively outside of the U.S. I see a bunch of fights in Colombia. I see Panama.
He fights mostly in Panama City.
Yeah, I see the first time he went to the U.S., not the first time, I see the Barclays fight. He gets knocked out by Eduardo Ramirez. I don't know how this fight plays out because I don't know enough about the opponent. I'm not sure if this is the same caliber of this is the same kind of fight, a step up fight, the way Xander Zayas is stepping up.
No, it's not
this weekend. But look, to be clear, Shu Shu is only on his 11th pro fight. I don't know that Carrington has got a very, very prolific amateur background. So this is a guy that's being built up. So again,
would you say that he's gonna need to step it up, at this time, right? So he's 27 years old now with 11 fights or whatnot. You think
when did Boots step up? How many fights did Boots on his 40th pro fight or some shit, isn't he? When did Jaime Munguia finally step up after 45 fights or something like that? So I mean, and look, to your point, I think both of those guys, interestingly enough, are younger
that's
than
what
Bruce
they're
Carrington.
younger
I did not realize that Bruce Carrington was 27 years old.
Yeah.
But look, yeah, yes, you might be right. Maybe he does need to step up after this fight. He's in the right division, right? If we look at the 126-pound landscape, we've got it's kind of wide open here, man. This was Robesi Ramirez was the name in the division. You got Raymond Forge, you've got Ray Vargas, Espinoza, who beat Robesi, Luis Lopez. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe where is he ranked? I don't even see. Oh, he's ranked 4 in the WBO, right behind Robesi Ramirez. I'm not sure if they're ready to put him in there with a guy like Robesi just yet. So yeah, I don't know. I think it might be more the same for Bruce for at least the rest of the year, maybe the next 2 to 3 fights before we see him in there against a guy in the top 4 or 5 in the division. It might be more of this. Fulton, interestingly, is ranked in the WBA at number 1.
I mean, you actually kind of tipped your hand a little bit, because I was gonna say that, right, at some point it might be that man, that monster, that might be coming up to that weight division. And
are you talking about Inoue?
Inoue.
Yeah, I think Inoue. How old is Inoue? Well, Inoue is what, 29?
No, he's 31. He's 31.
He's 31. So maybe you're talking about maybe 6 fights from now. So about 2.5 years from now. Inoue's 32 and some change. Maybe. But I think he is I think he is several fights away from an NOA fight. I mean, if
Yeah, it would. I mean, it would. I mean, it'll be, even though they're, they're kind of close and they're not that far apart in age. Just the type of fighters that NOA has fought, future Hall of Famers at this time, and then that's nothing that Shu Shu has fought at this point.
yeah. Also, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, well, look, man. So just so you know, so this cat was definitely like he won the New York City Golden Gloves back in 2017, and I think this guy
that was only 7 years ago, so he was 20 years old.
I think yeah, like the Olympic trials in 2020, but then COVID and all that stuff hit. So
yeah,
that's right.
So your boy was
he lost a couple of years because of that.
But he had that Joker had, I think, 200 fights, bro. Amateur bouts, man. You know what I'm saying? This a guy.
I didn't know that.
This cat can fight, man. You know, and he and I guess too, man. My thing still is like we got to, if we can sit and talk about like pound for pound and all the perspectives, and angles and stuff that come in on the pound for pound. I think we got to still do the same thing when you're thinking about, okay, up and coming fighters. So, and I say that to say to Jared's point, you can't say, hey, I'll take a look at these guys when I've seen whoever's on his resume or whatever. It's like it's up and coming. So you being a promoter, and that's why I'm going back to the holistic stuff. You got to figure out when you see this, what makes you want to promote this guy? What makes you want to invest in this guy? And I'm just saying that as up and coming, I don't think it's more so about who's on that cat's resume, vice what is this guy doing? Is this guy only throwing one shot, or does he understand the reason why I turn that hook behind that uppercut is because that uppercut brings my head out the pocket and I'm coming over with that hook. Like it's what I see these guys like Shu Shu, Abdullah Mason, Xander Zayas doing. Is those techniques and those skills that they're executing at the level that they're at that make us say, okay, up and coming, vice just kind of dissing them until they say, hey, wait till this Joker fight somebody, man. That's the only thing that I want to get in. This cat is an up and coming cat, and he's gonna be a problem for anybody.
He is, and so for me, the reason that as a prospect, the reason why I rate him above Xander Zayas is that to me he has that wow factor. He like overwhelmingly passes that eye test, and I think with Xander Zayas, Coach, I think you're right. Like one of his most kind of redeeming qualities is that he's super consistent. He's gonna come through. You're gonna know what you get all the time, but a lot of times I'm just kind of like, okay, what am I seeing in him that I haven't really seen in some of these up and coming prospects? Like, so to me, when I look at a Xander Zayas, he kind of reminds me a little bit of sounds a little bit contradictory, but almost like the up and coming Charlo brothers, right? So they were kind of like really consistent. You know what you were going to kind of get with them, like necessarily. And if you had the right opponents, they were going to get them out there. But they didn't have, and when I say wow factor, is that when you see a Tank Davis fight, wow, right? When you see NOA, fight, it's wow. And then even with a young Floyd, even though he wasn't as powerful as those guys, his fluidity within the ring, it was just that's different, right? He was like, that's something that's different. I haven't really seen that.
Now, I would agree with that, man. And here's why I would agree with that. And the thing that I'm hoping, and this is why I'm saying, so I get it, man. You got your trainer, you got a long guy that he got a solid foundational stance. Man, this cat got a great jab. Talking about Xander Zayas. So hey, yeah, man, let me let him box. Blah 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 blah. But there were a couple of his fights, man, I'm telling you, where I seen this guy rumble. And I don't think that his corner or his trainer has yet released that beast or that dog that this cat had.
The Kraken.
He ain't released the Kraken yet in terms of Zayas fighting on that inside, man. And the body shots that this kid can throw, dude. I'm telling you. So I get what you're saying about that wow factor. I can agree with that.
With that, so let's do a pivot to somebody who I think that has been able to wow a lot of people, but we're still waiting for it to kind of culminate into something, and that is your man Jerron Boots Ennis at this time. So he just recently signed with Matchroom, and this signing to me was an indication of where he felt, even though he's only 26 years old, he's had a pretty good step up in competition at this point, but he felt that I was being mismanaged a little bit at this point, or maybe mispromoted, because managers and promoters are different. But he wants those big fights. He wants to be able to capitalize upon his youth, upon his gifts, and be able to put his name as one of the top pound for pound fighters in the world right now. So we're gonna throw it back to you, Coach. So one thing I want to say is, like, so let's kind of set the context. So he has just been informed that he lost his opponent for his upcoming. This was going to be his first fight under the Matchroom umbrella, which was Crowley. So, Coach, with Ennis trying to take advantage of his youth and his opportunity to kind of put his name amongst the best pound for pound fighters, what do you think is a good matchup for him at this point? So right now, 147 pounds, it's starting to become a little bit barren because of everybody else. Everybody's jumping up to 154, right? So you think about Keith Thurman, who was supposed to fight Zoo. You think about Crawford, who's got a fight coming up. You think about Spence, who's trying to line up a fight with Fondura. Who would you like to see him take on at 147 pounds?
So now I know, so Jared might do better in terms of, what belt does Boots have? What the Boot got? He got the what? The IBF? Does he? What he got?
IBF. IBF.
I'm like, look, man, Boot.
Well, let's be clear on that. He's got a Reggie belt. He has an
No. He has the full belt. He's got the full belt.
Has
He has full belt. Remember, this is the belt that the IBF stripped from Crawford.
Oh, so he got emailed the belt.
Yeah. He has the IBF world title.
Well, he got.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, but he didn't beat anybody for this. He didn't beat anybody because we just had okay. But I see. But once Crawford went up and then they splintered the crown, then he got the IBF belt. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
At 140, Boots can fight anybody. Boots, Stanionis, Barrios, anybody. Connor, Ben, Jerron Boots. I think.
Okay. You throwing some that sounds.
Well, he can't, because remember, this is an IBF title defense, so he's got to fight somebody within the IBF. It's got to be like in the top 10. So
hold on. The question was, who do I want to see him fight?
Oh, I thought you said who could he fight as a replacement?
No, we just doing hypotheticals.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is, I'll put it to you this way. Anybody in the damn 147 division, Jerron Boots Ennis can fight. I don't care. He would beat Crowley, damn Ben, Stanionis, anybody in that damn division, this guy can fight. Crowley, whoever, Santillion, whoever he wants to fight in that division. I think that Boots has the skills to mop and clean this division up, man. Yeah. And if he and then let me say that if he slides up to 154, that would be interesting, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
But at 147, bring him. Bring him. I hope bring him.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see him just clean out that division, because
it'd be easy.
Right for I think it's right for the taking. I mean, the name that I would like to see, I don't know, and then I'll pass it to you, Jared, and then we'll kind of switch the hypothetical into something that's a little bit more practical, is Barrios. I wouldn't mind. I think that because I want to see something that's gonna bring up his profile a bit. Barrios has a name that people can, at least boxing fans can recognize. But if you think about 147 pounds, I think that weight division is right for the taking. Your thoughts, Boston?
Look, the fight that I would like to see him fight is against Rashidi Ellis is the fight that I would like to see him. When it comes to the guys who are left at 147 pounds, yeah, there's not really a whole lot left in this division, man.
No.
I mean, I look, Boots is going to be a gigantic favorite against anybody in this division, but I give Ellis a better shot than I'd give most of these guys. Maybe him and Stanionis is another would be another solid opponent. Conor Benn, I don't really know what to make of Conor Benn anymore after getting caught with the PEDs. Well, I'm not sure who this kid really is anymore. I got to see more of Conor Benn with this. I think he's enrolled in year-round testing now. I need to see more of Conor Benn because obviously, look, if it's the same Conor Benn as before he got popped for PEDs, and I mean that's a no-brainer of a fight, right? Conor Benn versus Boots Ennis in the UK somewhere. I mean that's a huge fight for both of those guys.
Yeah, and they're both with the same promoter, so it seems like it'll
Yep.
be real easy to make that fight. So, I mean, the thing about Rashidi Ellis, that would be a good fight. He kind of shot on himself in his last performance when he lost
The Villa fight, not his last performance.
fight.
He fought a few weeks ago actually on some club room card, which was kind of disappointing to see. But yes, the Villa fight, the Roman Villa fight was a huge step back for Rashidi Ellis. And as it stands now, he's not even ranked at 147 pounds. I'm not sure if that's I didn't pay for sanctioning fees issue or if it's something else. He is a promotional free agent right now, from what I understand. But yeah, I don't see him being put in as a replacement in this fight. Yeah, but yeah, as far as my wish list, if I could see him fight anybody at 147 pounds, it'd be those two guys. Now, as far as for his fight coming up here in Philly, there's only a handful of guys that I think he can fight, unless somebody from Matchroom pulls a rabbit out of their hat and the IBF makes an exception and it allows one of these other guys here to slide in. Giovanni Santillan is coming off of a loss against Brian Norman Jr. If I'm not mistaken, he got stopped by Brian Norman. Jin Sasaki, who I know nothing about. Karen Chukajan, who went the distance with Boots. Roy Monvilla, who he's already beaten. It's not a lot of sexy names here within the IBF.
What about the one that you just mentioned?
Roy Monvilla?
No, Brian Norman.
Brian Norman is not ranked in the IBF unless that's an oversight here on Boxing Scene, which it very well might be.
That's a pretty big oversight.
Yeah, I don't see. I see Brian Norman Jr. ranked 9th
with
in
20,
the WBO.
26-0 with 20 KOs. Wow.
Yeah, he's ranked 9th in the WBO. I don't see him ranked in the IBF. I don't see him ranked in the WBA. And I don't see Brian Norman Jr. ranked in any of the sanctioning bodies outside the WBO. That could be an oversight on Boxing Scene. I don't know, but yeah.
Look. But he also just fought
Right.
a couple of weeks ago or whatnot. He had that in that knockout, right? He kind of like posed and kind of
yeah. The prison pose. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this guy Jin Sasaki, I've heard his name get thrown around. Some of some of the boxing YouTube shows today. Jin Sasaki, who I know nothing about. I'm not even gonna sit here and act like I know who Jin Sasaki is. I've never seen him fight before. I'm pulling him up now. He's 17-1. He's got 16 KOs. And he has fought exclusively in Japan. I see one fight in Thailand. So yeah, I don't know. His last fight was May 16th. So that's tough for me to see him turning around and fighting Boots Ennis off of 2 weeks, just having fought 2 weeks ago. I don't know who the hell they're gonna pull out. They're gonna dust off for this fight. I really don't. I'm very, very curious to see. I actually texted my man over there today. I have not heard back from him, but I am very, very curious to see. I suspect it's going to be somebody who they bring up from 140 pounds, or maybe even somebody who they bring down from 154 pounds, because the pickings are just really, really slim, especially within the IBF. They might have to do some kind of a catch weight. I see Erickson Lubin ranked at 3 in the IBF at 154. I see Josh Kelly. I see Jesus Ramos. I see Jack Kolkai ranked 9th. That's a name. But yeah, it's really, really slim pickings in the IBF, man. That's at 154. And if we go down to 140, look, none of these guys, Regis Prograis, Hitchens, Catterall just fought. Liam Parles getting ready to fight Matias here. Gustavo Lemos, Barboza, Jermaine Ortiz. None of these guys are going to move up and fight Jaron fucking Ennis. So let's see. I'm curious to see who they got, who they found to help save this card. I'm genuinely curious.
All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this segment. Coach Dave, anything you want to leave the people with before we stop this?
Yeah, nah, bro, that's it, man. I think, yeah, Boston hit it on the head, man. It's gonna be interesting to see who they match them up with.
All right, make sure that y'all like and subscribe. Peace out.